Have you ever stormed out after a fight with your dad, only to regret it minutes later? Wishing you had said something different? Wishing you had stayed? If you've ever felt that, you're not alone. And this story is for you. It's about a son who walked away in anger, but found grace when he came home. It's about a father who didn't wait to punish, but ran to embrace. This is the story of the prodigal son, the story of unconditional love. There was a young man, restless, impatient, unsatisfied. He had food on the table, a roof over his head, a father who loved him deeply. But still, he wanted more. One day, he looked into the father's eyes and said the unthinkable. "Father, give me my share of the inheritance. I want it now." In that moment, time seemed to stop. The words pierced like knives. For the father, it was as if his own son had said, "I wish you were gone. I want what you can give me, but I don't want you." What could a father do? Every part of him wanted to cry out, to beg, "Don't go. You don't understand what you're throwing away." But love is never a cage. So with trembling hands, he divided the estate. He placed the silver into his son's palms, though each coin felt like it tore away a piece of his own heart. He let him go, not because he wanted to, but because he loved him enough to give him freedom, even freedom to walk into ruin. The son left, head high, pockets heavy with wealth, convinced the world was waiting for him. He never looked back, not once. But the father did not look away. He stood at the doorway, his eyes following the shrinking figure down the dusty road. The weight of silence pressed on him. His chest ached with a grief too deep for words. Yet, beneath the sorrow, his love did not falter. Every heartbeat whispered the same prayer, "Come home, my son. Come home." The boy thought he was walking into promise, but the father already knew. His child was walking into a storm. At first, life felt like a dream. The young man stepped into the city with coins jingling at his side and fire in his eyes. Every doorway seemed open to him, every voice eager to call him friend. He rented the finest room. The sheets smelled of spice and perfume. He drank the richest wine until his lips were stained red, and he laughed louder than he ever had before. Each night the table was crowded, hands reaching for bread, goblets clinking, the air thick with music and laughter. And inside, his heart swelled with pride. "This is freedom," he thought. "This is life. No rules, no father watching me. I am my own man now." The cheers of his companions were fuel, and every coin he tossed across the table felt like proof that he had made it. When he saw envy in other eyes, he smiled, convinced he had chosen the better road. But beneath the laughter, a whisper of emptiness stirred. He silenced it with another cup, another song, another stranger's smile. Still, every night when the candles burned low and the music faded, the emptiness lingered. He told himself tomorrow would be brighter. Tomorrow the laughter would feel real. But money runs out, and when it ran out, so did they. The friends he thought were loyal melted into the shadows. The tables emptied. The music died. And the young man found himself staring at bare walls, alone with the echo of his own laughter. Then the famine came, not just hunger in his stomach, but hunger in the land itself. Fields cracked and turned to dust, wells lay dry, children cried for bread. And the son, once the pride of his father's house, once the fool who thought himself a king, was reduced to a beggar. His fine clothes now hung in tatters, his once bright eyes dull with hunger. With no one left to flatter him, no one left to call him friend, he stumbled toward the only work he could find, feeding pigs. For a Jewish man, it was unthinkable. The stench clung to his skin, the filth seeped between his toes as he stood ankle-deep in mud. He tossed scraps to the animals and watched them devour what he himself longed to taste. If only I could eat what they eat, he thought, bitterness choking him more than hunger. This was the bottom. The same boy who once lifted his cup high now stared into a trough of pig food. The same heart that once swelled with pride now sunk under the weight of despair. Freedom had promised joy, but delivered chains. Pride had promised life, but led him to death. And in the silence of the pig pen, the young man began to see his laughter had been hollow, his freedom a lie, and the home he had scorned was the only place he still longed for. He sat in the mud, the stench of pigs all around him, his stomach twisted in hunger, his heart crushed in shame. He replayed the past in his mind, his father's eyes the day he walked away, the sound of coins in his bag, the laughter of false friends. Now, silence. Now, emptiness. It was here, at rock bottom, that something shifted. The Bible says he came to his senses. It's like a light flickered in the darkness. A memory broke through the fog. How many of my father's servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? For the first time in a long time, he thought of home. Not the house filled with wealth, not the land of inheritance, but the presence of his father. Even the servants in his father's house were better off than this. So he began to form a plan. He rehearsed the words in his mind again and again, almost like a confession carved into his soul. Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. Do you hear the pain in those words? He believed his identity as a son was gone forever. He didn't dare hope for restoration. All he wanted was survival. All he hoped for was a place among the servants. But sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes life has to break us open before we can see clearly. Sometimes failure strips away our pride until we realize what truly matters. Maybe you felt that too. Maybe you've sat in your own version of a pig pen, ashamed, broken, convinced you're unworthy of love. Maybe you've whispered to yourself, if I could just get by, if I could just have a little mercy, maybe I could survive. That's where he was, weak, hungry, barefoot, ashamed. But he stood up. He turned his face toward home. It wouldn't be an easy journey. Every step on that road was heavy with guilt. Every mile was haunted by the question, will my father even look at me? Will he slam the door in my face? Will he call me a disgrace? And yet he walked. Not because he had confidence, not because he believed in himself, but because, deep down, some part of him still believed in his Father's goodness. And that first step toward home, was the beginning of everything. It was the step that would change his story forever. Picture the scene. The son is still far from home. His robe is in tatters, his feet raw with blisters, his body frail from hunger. Every step drags, every breath is heavy. And in his mind, the words repeat like a broken prayer. "Father, I have sinned. I am no longer worthy. Just make me a servant." He dares not lift his eyes. Shame bends his back more than the weight of hunger. But then he notices movement. His father, not standing, not waiting, running. The son's heart nearly stops. For a man of honor in that culture, a father never ran. It was considered beneath his dignity to lift his robes, to expose his legs, to sprint down a public road. People would whisper, laugh, even mock. It was shameful. But this father does not care. Love has no pride to protect. Dust rises behind him as his sandals slap the earth. His arms stretch forward. His face glistens with tears. The son freezes. He braces himself for wrath, for punishment, for rejection. But instead, impact. Strong arms wrap around his thin frame. The father clings to him, burying his face in his neck, covering him with kisses. The stench, the rags, the filth, it doesn't matter. Only one thing matters. His son is home. The son trembles, choking out his confession. "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son." But the father interrupts. Love drowns out shame. He cries out, "Quick, bring the best robe, cover him, put a ring on his finger, restore him, sandals on his feet. He belongs here. Kill the fattened calf, we will celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and now is found." The son who thought he was walking into rejection finds himself standing in a celebration. And in that embrace, he learns unconditional love is stronger than shame, stronger than failure, stronger than death itself. While music thundered inside the house, while laughter and dancing shook the walls, one man stood outside in the dark. The older brother. His arms folded tight, his jaw set hard. The scent of roasted calf drifted through the night air, the sound of joy pressing against him like an insult, and his heart boiled. "All these years I've served you," he whispered through clenched teeth. "I never disobeyed, never wasted a coin, and yet, not once did you give me even a goat so I could rejoice with my friends. But this son of yours, this failure, this disgrace, comes crawling back, and you slaughter the fattened calf for him? Not my brother, this son of yours." The words carried the weight of years, resentment that had curdled into contempt. Bitterness had severed the bond of blood. And then, footsteps. The father stepped into the night. Just as he had once run to meet the younger, now he came out to meet the elder. But this time, no running, no rushing, only a quiet approach, a hand reaching, a voice pleading. "My son," the father said softly, "you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But how could we not rejoice? How could we not celebrate? Your brother was dead, and now he lives. He was lost, and now he is found." The older brother turned away, but his chest tightened. For years he had labored, faithful, obedient. But in his eyes, his service had become chains. The house of his father, which should have been delight, felt like duty. And in his zeal to prove himself, he had missed the joy of being a son. Inside, the feast roared louder, the music rose, the voices sang, but outside, the night held its breath. There stood the elder, torn between pride and mercy, between envy and love. The younger brother had been lost in rebellion. Now the older stood lost in his pride, and the father's voice lingered in the air, gentle but unyielding, an invitation not to the feast of food, but to the feast of love. This parable is more than a family drama. It's more than an ancient story told by Jesus 2,000 years ago. It's a mirror, a window. It reflects something about us. It reveals something about God. Because the truth is, every one of us has been the younger son. We've run after things that promised happiness, but left us empty. We've chosen our own way, slammed the door on God, and said with our actions, even if not with our words, "I want your blessings, but I don't want you." And where did it lead? To emptiness, to regret, to places we never thought we'd end up. And some of us, we've been the older brother. We've worked hard, we've stayed responsible, we've done the right things, but deep down, our hearts hardened. We compared ourselves to others and grew bitter when grace was given freely. We forgot that the Father's love is not something we earn, it's something we receive. Both sons were lost, one in rebellion, one in pride, but both were loved, both were pursued, and both were invited back into the Father's arms. That's the heart of the story. A father who waits at the window. A father who runs down the road. A father who pleads with the bitter as much as he embraces the broken. A father who restores, who forgives, who celebrates. And here's the message for you. You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. You are not too guilty, too stained, too ashamed, too lost for the love of the Father. Maybe today you feel like the younger son, sitting in the mud, carrying the weight of your mistakes. Or maybe you feel like the older brother, angry, tired, jealous, disappointed, stuck in comparison. Whichever one you are, the Father comes out to meet you. He doesn't wait for you to climb your way back. He runs, he embraces, he calls you his child. Think about that. When the son came home, he expected punishment, but he got a party. He expected rejection, but he got restoration. He expected to be a servant, but he was treated like a son. That's grace. That's love without condition. And this is not just his story, this is ours. It's mine, it's yours. It's the reminder that no matter where we've been, the road home is always open. The Father is already waiting at the window, scanning the horizon, ready to run. So let me ask you, where are you in this story? Are you running? Are you angry? Are you ashamed? Or are you ready? Ready to turn back, ready to take that first step toward home? Because if you do, you'll find that God has already been running toward you. You'll find that His love was never based on your perfection, but on His heart. You'll find that what you thought was the end of your story is only the beginning. So hear this clearly. You are loved, always. You are wanted, always. And no matter how far you've gone, there is a Father whose arms are wide open. This is the story of the prodigal son. But more than that, it's the story of unconditional love, and it's your story too. Thank you for spending these moments with me today. If this story touched your heart, I invite you to stay connected. There are more stories, more reminders of hope, more glimpses of God's love that I want to share with you. So if you haven't already, hit subscribe, turn on the notifications, and join this journey. This channel is a place for encouragement, for truth, for the kind of stories that remind us we are never alone. I'm grateful you're here. I'm grateful you listened all the way through, and I can't wait to share the next story with you. Until then, remember this: you are loved, you are valued, and your story is not over.